Yay.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome once again to the Unlearned Podcast. I am your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA, and this is once again Freedom Friday, where me and a friend of mine come and share something we've unlearned recently and how it has made us just a little bit more free. And I got my homie in the building.
Yeah.
What's up, Meg?
Hey.
It
Good to
is
be here.
It's awesome. Look, okay, so this is your second time. This is your second time
It
on the
is, but my
podcast.
little name's different.
Your name is different. Come on, different name. Come on, man.
Come on,
Yeah.
marriage.
Come on, marriage.
Both of
Megan
us.
Steele, formerly
That's
Megan
right.
Broadstreet. Yeah, we both have different names since it's
We
the first
do.
time we did it.
Like, my name is so short now. I'm like, who
It
is
is.
that? It's such a
That's-
strange. I haven't even practiced like trying to write it out yet. I'm like, I have no idea how to write my new name.
My name got longer.
It did.
It got longer, and I did realize I don't know how to do a capital G in cursive. I really struggle.
It's hard.
It's a difficult letter.
It doesn't even look like a G. It's kind of like a. Yeah, good luck to you on that.
It's not a G anyway. Nobody else knows. It's fine.
No offense, but you don't strike me as the type of person that has like fantastic handwriting anyway. So I'm just kidding.
That was
a little dig.
It's unnecessary. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. No, that's cool. I'm not offended. It's fine.
It's out of love.
Yeah,
It's
you may or may not be wrong. So man, how you doing? How was your day?
It was good. We are gearing up to go on the honeymoon on Monday.
Yeah.
And
sweet.
so just been getting ready for that and then prepping for this.
Yeah, man. So you know, we're both coming at this conversation or coming into another conversation with very different circumstances.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
like completely different circumstances, which is very interesting. And I think that the thing we were talking about, before we hit record, just talking about what it's like, kind of the criticisms and the way that we talk to ourselves, which, I think we've both definitely talked before in the past. That's something we both struggle with, but in a different season.
Right.
It can be, it's like learning it on a different level, or like the next layer. You know what I'm saying? It's another layer, What have you been unlearning about criticism?
It's not even like a marriage or non-marriage thing.
Yeah.
I think just because I am in a household spending way more time with another person, I recognize there's this little inner critic in there, whether it's towards myself or towards, him.
Mm-hmm.
And before it was like, I just had to focus on how it impacted me. Now you got to focus on how it impacts a whole other person. So I've been unlearning for a while now how to talk to that inner critic, but now I'm like learning how to trying to unlearn how to not let that inner critic talk to someone else.
Oh.
It's a little rough.
That's okay, man. That's okay. All right. Let's unpack that. That's real. That's real. Because that's like a double-sided. That's a two-sided sword, double-sided sword, right? That's
100%.
That's tough. Like, so
yeah.
Which one of those has been the most difficult? You talking, like, stopping the critic from talking to you, or stopping the critic from talking to other people?
I feel like I've had more tools or learned more tools for how to stop it from talking to myself, but I'm definitely in process of trying to communicate things differently now that I am married to, my husband. Like, my critic doesn't need to be the one communicating. It needs to be me. It needs to be my heart. It needs to be like, it needs to be presented differently, not just oh, you didn't do that right, or you didn't do that the way I would do it, or a lot of that's coming up for me, and I'm like, well, he's his own person, so he's not going to do it exactly the way you want him to, but why not?
Right.
So that, yeah. So like I said, I've had tools to work on that voice internally. I am gaining tools to work on that voice externally now. Because I mean,
That's
honestly, I can't say I've like never been critical, but it's not really showed itself like in my job or with friends in the same way. So,
yeah. I can 100% like it's interesting. I feel like I've had more this is just me. I've had more practice. Maybe it's just the people pleaser in me, I'm sure. I've had more practice on not criticizing others than and basically turning that consistently on myself. And like
mm.
and in
Well, that's also another layer to it though, because I can
yeah,
totally see that.
it's hard.
Interesting.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like because I, I don't like people feeling like I don't like them, right? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that exchange. I don't want people to ever feel that. So I will
Sure.
often do something to kind of thwart that, but
Mm.
then I will just use whatever energy that was that could have come towards them towards me
Yourself.
and
Mm-hmm.
get put myself on the altar of criticism, which is not better, right? What so
No.
what are some of the tools that you have used to help the inner critic for yourself? Like,
So some of it's gonna sound weird, but
great.
it like has really helped me.
Okay.
One, I've learned that we have to meet that voice with curiosity and kindness. It like it doesn't work if you match it. Like if the
Okay.
critical voice is there, wherever it is, if it's there and you match it with another criticism, like that doesn't work. It
Mm,
has to like be disarmed somehow. And in my, process through it, it's been out of curiosity and kindness.
yeah.
Um, just like, an example, like if I'm triggered thinking and it's like going faster than I know what to do with, and
Mm,
it's like all the emotions are going, and I'm like, I can't believe like you would think that, or I can't believe someone said that to you. It's most like you should have done this, or like should is a huge, so like
yeah.
inner critic word.
Yeah.
Um, I sometimes just pretend that like there's a little girl in there and I talk to her.
Mm, that's real.
um
Yeah.
and I like ask her questions, and I'm like, I mean, there was one time I was talking to myself in the car, and I was like, it was my first time doing this and it felt really strange, but I was just like, Megan, I hear you.
Mm,
Like, I hear you. There is nothing I can do about this situation right now. Um, you're doing a good job. You're doing the best you can. And like, we'll revisit this, but I don't have an answer for you right now. Or like something along those lines. Like, I talked to it and it
that's really good.
honestly settled like
Yeah. Mm,
this thing,
mm. That's really good. I
Yeah.
actually appreciate that.
It
Just help
feels
me,
weird. You're
Meg.
you're out here talking to yourself. You
Well, real
really are
talk
out here
though.
talking to
I talk
yourself.
to myself all the
But
time. Like I talk to myself all the time. But I don't always talk. I'm always it's a process that I always talk well to myself. I
no,
think, man, that's really good. Like I'm gonna do that. Real talk. Like I'm going
just say,
to
I hear you in
I
there.
hear
Like,
you.
I hear you. Like, you don't have to, and honestly, I have this story. So, um, a friend of our, actually, Amy Rodell,
Yeah.
her daughter Zion, which she doesn't know I'm about to share this story, but we were getting ready for Amy's vow renewal one day, and Zion was just walking around, doing her thing. She's like 3, I think 4 now.
Okay.
And she was like, "You're doing a good job, sweet girl." Like she just kept saying that to herself. She's like, "You're doing
Oh
a good job, sweet girl.
wow.
You're doing a good job, sweet girl." And I was like, "Okay, first of all, way to go, Amy," because she's obviously
Right.
mimicking like what you're
Right.
saying to her. But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna walk around and I'm gonna say, "Doing a good job, sweet girl. You're doing a good job, sweet girl." Because like that stuff
Yeah.
comes from somewhere deep in there. Like I think we
Yeah.
have to talk to those parts of us that maybe get stuck, you
Mm,
know?
yeah.
Like, and maybe there's a sweet girl in there that just needs to be reminded,
Mm,
like talking to her as if she was that little, I don't know. It sounds
No,
weird
that's
when you say it out loud, but it
well,
is
yeah,
so,
it's
it's
powerful.
impactful.
Sure. Yeah. No,
Um,
it does sound weird. Let's be real. It sounds weird. I mean, talking to a
it
little
does.
kid, that's
But
weird.
it doesn't
But
sound weird to Zion. If you say it to her, it
mm,
doesn't sound weird to
no,
her. And I just like, we're just grown children, honestly. Like, nobody is really out here knowing what they're doing
nope,
most of the time. I think we
nope.
all are faking it till we make it.
Yep.
You
And
know?
sometimes we don't make it.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think and it kind of reminds me I've been reminded of this actually a lot lately, and maybe it's because I've kind of been marinating on this idea, just haven't really named it, this idea of the inner critic. But when Jesus really calls us to be like children,
Mm.
and then we're consistently called the children of God. I mean, he's very very intentional with that language. We're not, what I'm saying? It's not the family of God. You don't get to, like, it's not that, it's the, you are children.
There's a personal touch there
And
for
and
sure.
there's a mentality of
Mhm.
dependency and a mentality of this kind of wild faith
Yeah.
that the things that I see or experience don't have to be what's always true.
Mm.
Doesn't My reality can be my reality without the truth changing.
Mm.
And that's a child's way of thinking. Like, you know, I think children have to think that, you almost have to think that way as a child,
Yeah.
because you can't control your reality most of the time, and so you have to, on some level, you have to believe in a truth that doesn't always feel real.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so, I think that that's just a beautiful, like, that story of Zion is just so beautiful, because that is really how we should be behaving. Just this free, just this freedom of a childlike thinking.
Absolutely. Because like, I mean, some people have, I think we get these voices because either someone has said something to us at some point, there's a lie built up in there, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell, our 9-year-old, like, I'm not going to talk to him in the same way that I'm talking to myself right
Yeah.
now.
Right.
Like,
Right.
why would I talk to him that way?
Right.
So like, why would I talk to myself that way? And then, why would I talk to my husband that way?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just, it's a choice to
Mm.
hold your tongue.
Yeah. Real talk.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like the child of God, like that's powerful. And I don't think that voice is from God,
No.
you know?
No.
One of the scriptures that like it makes me think of, and it's a little bit out of context, I think, but it is applicable. Um, that inner critic voice, or like that self-hatred voice, it's definitely the enemy uses that, right?
Yeah,
Like
for
it
sure.
may not
Yeah.
be in that moment like the enemy right then and there, but like he's grown in it, it's influenced by that. Um, and so the scripture, Romans 12:20, this is from the
Mm.
Passion Translation. There's two translations I want to read.
Okay.
It says, if your enemy is hungry, buy him lunch, win him over with kindness. For your surprising generosity will awaken his conscience, and God will reward you with favor. Never let evil defeat you, but defeat evil with good. And then the NLT version is, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink.
Mm.
In doing this, you will heap burning coals of shame on their heads.
Mm.
Don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. And that's where like the kindness piece has come in. It's like, that's how you disarm
Yeah.
that voices from being kind. Like if a kid is really, really upset and like yelling or throwing a tantrum, like you matching that
Not
doesn't
helpful.
bring it down.
Nope.
It's the like, it's the kindness and the curiosity. Like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
why would you have those thoughts? Like, you know, one of my, I guess, bigger insecurities at the moment is just I've gained a little bit of weight,
Mm.
and there's that inner critic in there that's just like, you should be doing this more and you should be doing this more. Well,
Yeah.
I had a huge life. So I'm asking myself, like, talking to it, her, of
Sure.
like, why? Why do you feel like you should be skinnier? Why, do you want to be healthy or do you want to be skinny? Like, what
Mm.
are just asking yourself questions,
Yeah.
but then taking inventory of like, well, I've just had a huge life change
Yeah.
that's, been kind of going on for a year. So I
Yeah.
haven't had a lot of consistency for a year, which makes
Yep.
it hard. Um, I have back problems, which have
Mm.
made it a little bit challenging for me. And so it's like those aren't to be used as excuses. Like
Sure.
if you want to set a goal for yourself, that's fine. But like internally, it does me no good if I'm like, you should look different or you should be
Right.
2 sizes smaller. I can't believe you can't fit into that shirt anymore. And like
Right.
that's just a cycle of not good.
Yeah.
you know,
There's
like
no
there's
it's
nothing good that comes from that. Like,
no.
yeah, sure, maybe I would like to
Right.
look a little different, but I also look back at pictures from, you know, 5 years ago, and even then I was dissatisfied with
Yeah,
something.
that's real. That's real.
Like I've
That's real.
never been skinny enough and I've never
Mm.
liked, so it's like at some point
Mm.
that little girl or inner, I have to love her. I just
Yeah.
have to love her.
Yeah. And that's I I definitely I relate to the weight thing. That's real.
Yeah.
I for for your wedding, I had this whole fiasco with my with my dress, and I couldn't, that I like waited too late to get altered because I definitely ordered it too small. And I was just like, oh no, I can't, what am I gonna do? And I was definitely beating myself up, man. I was like, I mean, it's
Yeah. And
funny,
that's
I
there's a
mean,
lot of pressure
it
for something
was.
like that. I was saying with like my wedding pictures, I'm like, my arms are gonna be too fat. And that's all I thought about. And I'm like, oh my
Wow.
gosh, that is not even what this is about. But here I am, like
That's that's for real. Like, and I think the critic, I just, man, the kind, so what I kind of what I'm mm, hearing in the scripture you read, right?
hmm
Talk about the enemy. Man, how backwards is it to be your own enemy? I mean, like, cuz really that's what we are choosing to be our own enemy in that. You know what I'm saying? And it's
yeah,
like we have to, hey, when your enemy, me, is coming against me, then the best thing to do is to treat it with
to be kind.
treat you with, speak
Yes.
kindly, right?
Don't
Um
let evil conquer you, but conquer
right.
evil by doing good.
And that's it's it can be very, it's very humbling
hmm
to recognize that a lot of times our enemy really is ourselves. And I
Yeah.
and it's ourselves because we are making ourselves the enemy. We're doing it because of the way we're thinking, our
Yeah.
mindset,
And
because of,
whether it's conscious or subconscious, it's still true,
it's still true. It's still
and
true.
like I honestly have noticed if I am very self-critical, like I am more likely to be critical to
For
Nick.
sure.
And
For
it
sure.
just has nothing, some of it might have something to do with him. Like it might not all be false, but like the way I respond to it and how quick I am to act on it has
Yeah,
everything to do with me
absolutely.
and how I view myself. And so
Yeah.
it just impacts so much more than your internal dialogue. Like it will spill over into
Mm.
your life.
It you can't help it. I mean, what's in is going to come out, right? I mean, like,
hmm
that's kind of the principle.
Yeah.
And I think, one thing I've noticed since being married is my that inner critic has gotten a lot louder. Like, it's gotten a lot louder.
Mm.
And it really does. It can, if you allow it to, it can move you into a place of shame,
Mhm.
and then project that onto my husband as if
Mhm.
he sees me like I see me,
Yeah.
and he doesn't.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's another layer right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, like, and
Yeah.
he has to constantly tell me, stop doing that. I'm not
Mhm.
bothered by that. That is not something, like, I'm cool. And it has been a real challenge to believe that, because I
Mhm.
see me that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like,
Yes.
and some of that stuff, it's like, I don't know, he would never think that about me, but then I'm finding, like, well, I don't know. It just honestly, like, I feel like it also just shows me how good my husband is. Like,
Absolutely. Oh my
I'm just
gosh.
like,
Real talk,
oh,
man.
I'm like,
Yep.
you're so kind. I'm like, I'm not even that kind to you or
Uh,
myself, and I'm usually a kind person.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I mean,
Yeah, but we also need, like, when we can't get there on our own, we need people in our corner to help us get there, which is
yeah.
also super biblical,
Very.
you know? So,
It's yeah, it's biblical. It's communal. It's what we have to do. We have to do it, right?
yeah.
We have to do it. Um, I'm reminded of, you were saying this earlier, and it reminded me of, you were saying something earlier, and it reminded me of the I guess illustration or tool, I guess you would say. Have you
Mhm.
ever heard of the ladder of inference? You heard about this?
No.
I feel like
Mm-mm.
this is something you would have studied in
I
school or
will
something. I don't know.
immediately look it up after this.
So it's I learned it at a workshop that I was just at this past weekend. It's really, really interesting. So essentially, it is the it's the ladder that we go through in our minds when something happens, right?
Okay.
And when we're triggered, and then we make all these inferences. We go up the ladder, and it informs whatever action comes out, right? And
Okay.
so the illustration that the presenter used was, if somebody if somebody cuts in front of you into a parking space, and
Mhm.
what you do in that moment, and this happens in like 7 seconds, right? It's very, very fast. I want
Mhm.
to pull it up because this is really interesting.
I'm here for it.
Ladder. So uh inference. Hold on, listeners, let me pull this up real quick. It's a little impromptu. All right, let's see here. Images. Okay. So basically, something happens, right?
Mhm.
Person pulls in front of you. The first thing you do is you have this data. You observe the data. You see what's happening, and then you select data that
Okay.
you're choosing to then focus on, and then you add meaning to that data, right? So guy in front of you, you see he didn't use his blinker. He didn't consider you. He stole your spot. He
Mhm.
clearly saw that you were in front of him, and you you say, well, this guy clearly did this on purpose. You assign meaning for it, right?
It means this. Yeah.
It means this. It means that he's inconsiderate. Inconsiderate. It means that he's a jerk, right? I mean, all that
Mhm.
stuff. And then you make
Mhm.
these assumptions that you make whatever assumptions you make about the person and about you, right? I was raised right. Clearly, he wasn't raised right, right? That's not how.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
not how I was raised, right? And then you begin to draw your conclusions from
Mm.
that, and then you connect them to your beliefs that you have, right? This
Mhm.
isn't how you treat people like that. Let's say it was
Becomes very
somebody.
absolute.
It becomes very absolute. Let's say it was a teenager.
Yeah.
Teenagers are
Mhm.
horrible. They can't drive. This is his
Mhm.
parents didn't raise him right. All this stuff,
Yeah.
right? And then your action is the thing that you take action based on going up that ladder. So your action
Mhm.
might be to honk at him, or
Right.
to if you real mad, you might flip him off, right? Whatever it is you do, right? You might
Mhm.
cuss him out. I don't know what you're gonna do, right? But
Yeah.
you do something, you take an action, and then within the next few seconds, you recognize that everything you thought was wrong. Because let's say that in this particular example, the guy was, he said that, my wife was pregnant and we had to run to the store real quick before we had to go to the hospital. And I just needed to really get in here real quick. And so now everything goes down. Right.
Yeah.
So
De-escalates. Yeah.
so the trick is like what the tool helps you do is, and is help you to disrupt your ladder. How do I
think that
disrupt
goes
it?
back to like curiosity.
Right.
Like if one of our first responses was, why don't I ask myself a couple of questions?
Exactly.
Because the internal dialogue with like my weight or whatever, I could easily be like, oh, I've gained, 10 pounds. The response could be, I'm lazy.
Right. Right.
Or that could be
Yes.
someone else's response, or like,
Yep.
you just must be too lazy.
Right.
And it's like, well, why don't I ask some questions?
Right.
Like, there's a couple other things in there, like the person pulling into the parking lot. Like, did he see you? Did he, and sometimes the answer could be they're a jerk.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's it. But the curiosity just creates so much space for you to like learn.
Yes.
And you might be surprised by the answer. Internally, you might be surprised by what's actually going on with you, and externally.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it will, I love the curiosity point. I think it's so crucial because it disrupts your conclusion. Like, don't jump to a conclusion so fast, right? You don't always know.
And we can't assign it.
No.
Like, we can't assign a thought automatically all the time. Like, there's, which, a whole other conversation of like, we have to have answers now. It has to be, but giving something room to be curious, and maybe that answer doesn't come right away.
Right.
Just because you, even internally, just because you ask yourself a question like, man, I wonder why I'm like so hard on myself. Like, maybe that answer is not going to come tomorrow. Like, we can still be curious about it and just wait for it to play out.
That's it. Okay. So last thought, how have you become more free as a result of paying attention to your inner critic?
I have become more free from paying attention to it. I guess it like doesn't have as much power over me. Knowing that there are like when I know I'm getting that way and there are two things I kind of need to go to first to help me, like that knowledge has been very freeing.
That's
it
good.
like no longer feels like it controls me, but I can kind of navigate that voice a little bit. It doesn't mean there aren't bad days, but there is like a way out.
Yeah. That's really good. What would you tell someone who is struggling with criticism, whether it's with themselves and or how it spews out into other people? What would you tell them? How would you give them hope?
One, I would tell them to find your phone and be as honest as you want to and get it out of your system and ask some questions. And then do something like remind yourself, make a choice to remind yourself about something kind, either if you're struggling internally with yourself or if it's with a person, like remind yourself of something kind towards them. And honestly, like go find a therapist or someone to talk to. Like, don't do that on your own because it's too heavy. It's too much. Most of the time it's really loaded. So just like go do something about it. Like you owe yourself that, and you owe the people around you that.
That's good. That's good, Meg. Man.
Yeah.
This was rich. This was rich conversation.
It was.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming, and thank you for helping me. Because you actually did. I'm going to do that for real. I'm going to talk to my inner child
If you
in the
do it
car.
anyways, you
I'm gonna
might as
do it.
well.
Might well do it. You're right.
You might as well
Might
add
do it.
this to the list.
I'm gonna add it. I'm gonna add it as a tool, and
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do
We're
that.
gonna see everybody
really good.
driving around being like patting themselves on the back. Good job, sweet girl. Like everyone. Good job, sweet boy. Just because you're a boy doesn't mean you can't do it too.
Doesn't mean you can't do it. That's right. Oh man, that's
awesome.
good. That's good. That's good. All right. Thank y'all once
Okay.
again for listening to the Unlearned
Thank you.
Podcast and Freedom Friday. And thank you, Meg, for being here. We will keep unlearning together so that we can experience more freedom. Until next
Amen.
week. Peace.